Now let's go ahead and move on to a little bit further. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is me, of course. But really, though, we're going to go ahead and talk about my birth. And I know I mentioned this in my complete story video, but I want to hear it from your guys' perspective, not just mine. So what happened at my birth?
Well, the first birth I had was a difficult birth. And we were living in Knoxville, Tennessee when I was pregnant with you. And I found out I was pregnant. And some friends in the congregation knew a doctor that would probably take me. And his name was Dr. Simmer. And he had a couple girls working for him in the office who were Jehovah's Witnesses. And he was also like the head of the whole department there. I mean, he was the one of God, the university,
hospital.
Yeah, the gynecology department at the University of Tennessee teaching hospital. And he accepted me as a patient. So, come the day of to give birth, we go to the hospital, and I'm progressing pretty well. We've signed papers previously. I need to mention that neither I nor the child will accept a blood transfusion due to our faith. So as it got time for they had monitors in me, and all of a sudden the monitor flatlined, and you had stopped breathing in the womb, and you defecated, and you swallowed some of it, and they had to get you out really, really fast. So we had an emergency cesarean. But when I was coming out from under the anesthesia in the recovery room, the head of the pediatric intensive care came in, and he said, "Mrs. Winter, I know you've signed papers not to have a blood transfusion, but if you don't allow me to give your baby a blood transfusion, he will not live the day out." And your dad was in there with me, and of course he spoke up, and he said no, he wouldn't allow it. And then the doctor turned to me, and I was coming out from under some pretty heavy anesthesia at the time, and he said, "Well, Mrs. Winter, I need your answer." And I said, "Absolutely not." So you didn't get it. So then the doctor said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to get a court order." So we said, "Okay, you do what you do, you do what you have to do," and that's all we could do. And but my doctor said, "Well, he said,
Well, he came in later.
Okay, well, you know more about this than I. Maybe I should let you take it from here, because
You
like
remember quite a bit.
pretty groggy.
Yeah. Well, when you were starting to come out, I wanted to go back. Your delivery was going real fast, and as we say, all hell broke loose with the umbilical cord wrapped around your neck and all these other things. Your heart stopped beating. And it was funny, back then there was a controversy medically whether having the monitor outside the belly for a heartbeat or inside. And they did the one inside, and that's how they caught the fact that your heart, stopped beating. Well, at any rate, they actually had to push you back into her, your mother. And they had, I don't know how many people around your mother holding her down. And your mother was screaming a scream I've never heard her, because it was very painful. And they finally put her out, and, they all went across the hallway to the other room and delivered. And I was standing there by the door, and I had some nurse tell me to get out of there. I had no business being there. And I says, that's my wife and child. I don't care. Get out of here. So I had to go somewhere else. Well, at any rate, after she got back in the room, she was coming out of it. And, of course, the one guy was trying to push the blood transfusion. And she was coming out, and she said no. Well, at that point, we both prayed. And I said this prayer. And that's when our primary doctor came in. and says, "What's going on?" And we told him what happened. He says, and this guy was God at that
Yeah.
at this hospital. He was God, and he says, "Well, let me see if what I can do." And he went down, talked to that guy, and he came back, I don't know, half an hour later or so, and he says, "I just want you to know, we're not going to do anything. But if your son condition goes downhill, then we're going to have to go with it." And we were relieved, and we were happy. So there again, our faith was cemented.
Our prayers were answered.
Our prayer was answered. And the other reason our prayer was answered, it wasn't too long after that, we started hearing about AIDS. And it was not among homosexuals. It was in the blood. And we go, "Oh my God, James." And there was all kinds of children that they had on the news that was coming down with AIDS because of blood transfusions that was given to them. Again, our prayers were answered. It, saved
Right.
you from all that.
You were seeing it as wisdom from Jehovah
Exactly.
coming down because, oh wow, this disease is out there. My child avoided it and he's fine because of it.
It made
Yeah.
us
And
more-
not only did you
Yeah.
survive, but you thrived.
You thrived. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a very, very healthy child.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a pretty heavy situation for any young couple to go through. Especially in a situation when their child's life is literally at stake.
I just want to say, remember too, there were no hospital liaison committees at that time.
No,
We were on our own for that. We
Yeah.
made this decision on our own.
no elders were there.
No elders
Well-
visited. So
Really, and I'll say yes and no to that because you were still coerced by the organization
yes,
through their propaganda to make that decision in the end.
yes.
Whether you had somebody over your shoulder or not to make it.
It just goes to show you how.
How we felt at the time.
Right,
at the
exactly,
time.
That was-
exactly.
that was the
And that's
point.
the point I wanted to bring out though was, it's not when you're in that organization, you sometimes think things are your decision, but they're really not. Those decisions have already been handed
Exactly.
to you
Yeah,
over and over and over again. That's why they always repeat everything they
I
say.
agree.
And so by the time you got to that situation, again, it wasn't your decision. It was the organization's decision for you
Mm-hmm.
about my health.
Yes.
Which, I mean, obviously I'm thankful that it worked out, but how many other people has it not worked out for? How many children have died for lack of a blood transfusion when they needed one?
Mm-hmm.
It's only been the last 10 years your mother and I have had that discussion many times,
Mm-hmm.
and we sit there in awe on why in the world did we do what we did. We were jeopardizing our son. It was in the cult because of, they say, "Oh, they're a loving organization." There's such lack of love, even in things of this caliber, that we were willing to sacrifice you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it was really because of lack of love for our own child, and we were sacrificing you over in my opinion, a God that doesn't exist. So,
Well, so anyways, let's go on a little bit because it's so sad, that whole situation, no matter how you look at it. Even with me surviving it and being healthy, it's still a sad situation.
No.
It's even more of a sad situation for those who didn't survive or lost their lives because of lack of those transfusions. And I know you probably remember the 94 Watchtower article that had all those kids on there that
Oh, yeah.
died because of not getting
Yeah.
a blood transfusion.
yes.
So I could have easily been a martyr for Watchtower just as much as those other
Yeah.
kids.
The most despicable.
We
thing we ever
realize
had.
that now.
And I know you do.
It's a perspective. Yeah, this perspective of time really puts everything in a totally different light, and also the perspective of being outside the box of the cult.
And that's why I think stories like this are really important to get out there because people need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Not only just people who are studying with Jehovah's Witnesses, but people who have been in for many years to get this perspective from outside the box and see what really happens, even though they know it happens.
Yeah. Well,
But they tend to just, because of that indoctrination, they block it off and they push it away.
they always like to use the example of, you put a frog in a pan of water, and turn the heat up. It doesn't realize it's being boiled alive. And really, the cult, like the Watchtower, uses the same thing. It's gradually, at least in my lifetime, these things were, taught to us and indoctrinated into us, gradually about so many things, so many things, that this was just another one. And we, how you dress, how you act, how your hair's cut, on and on and on and on. How many times do you have sex with your mate? How many children should you have? They just controlled you in so many aspects. It was ridiculous.